course, we're going to go through 4 different types of demos for reporting. The first type is reporting with roll-up fields inside of the tables. Sometimes when you are working inside of Airtable, there are basic metrics and basic summary fields or basic summary numbers that you need to see as part of the job. So those are very well set up in the tables. You can benefit from setting up summaries in the tables themselves. The second type is building charts and graphs and summary numbers in either apps or in interfaces. The third type of reporting is pivot tables. If you come from spreadsheets, you might be very familiar with pivot tables already, but we do want to show you how pivot tables work inside of Airtable and how it might be slightly different. And last but not least, we're also going to show you how to set up quarterly and annual reporting. We're going to use the exact method we use for our own clients and set up a couple of different tables for the quarter and for the year. To demonstrate the roll-up fields inside of a reporting context, we're going to use our project management base that we've been using as part of this course. As you'll recall, this database had lots of important linkages, for example, projects, tasks, clients, and also time logs. When you're using roll-up fields to create summaries, you're usually rolling up information from a child record into a parent record. For example, in a project context, you can take a look at how many tasks are in a given project, or in our database, we can look at how many projects have been worked on for a specific client. Inside of our clients table, we can create a new view. I always like to start a new view when I'm building the reporting because it keeps my data clean and I can look at the relevant fields for that specific view. Inside of the clients table, I'll add a new view for client reporting. Next, I'm going to hide all of the fields that are currently on the view so I can have a clean slate. The first thing I want to report on is the number of projects I've worked on for a given client. To help me with this reporting, I'm going to unhide the projects table. Next, I'll create a roll-up field for the number of projects. We're going to be rolling up from the projects table.
Thanks for investing in your own knowledge base. I'm Cherry Yang, the founder of Claribase. We're going to be releasing our flagship course, Airtable Mastery, for free. In the course, you can find over 100 videos on topics like design, integration, automations, and interfaces. It's perfect for the Airtable champion who wants to build their database right the first time. You can sign up for the course at the link down below.
And the field we're rolling up is a name field. We can count all of the projects that are not blank. The formula we'll use in this case is COUNTA. You can see that the COUNTA formula got us 5 projects for Cherry's Cafe, and 3 for John's Guitar Shop, and 3 as well for Sam's Personal Real Estate Corp. If it's a simple count of the number of records in the linked field, you can also choose to use the count field. There's a field type inside of Airtable called count. You can select that and then select the linked record you want to count up. In this case, we'll select projects. You can see that the results are the same. We have 5 projects for Cherry's Coffee Shop, regardless of how you set up this field, and 3 for the other 2 clients. The count field is going to fall short when you need to summarize more granular data. For example, how long all of those projects have taken. The next field we'll create is time spent on all projects. This is also going to be a roll-up field. We're going to roll up from the projects table and roll up the time spent on project field. In this case, we're not counting, we're summing all of the values. By summing all the values, we're adding together all the duration of the time logs that the team has added towards those projects, and we can see all of those summaries added together on the client's table. You can also play around with lots of different formulas, for example, min, max, averages. Depending on your use case, there are different formulas that could help you to achieve your goals. We'll go through the example of a max formula in this case. We can create a field called hours spent on the largest project. We're still looking at hours spent. This time, the formula changes to max values. Now we can see the max value is 16 hours. When you're setting up reporting, it's always a good idea to check if your reporting is accurately representing the raw data. To check this, we're going to head over to our projects table. The time we spent on the largest project is indeed 16 hours. Next, we're going to talk about a conditional rollup field. This is going to help you summarize information that meet a certain criteria, and it's similar to setting up a filter in your view. To demonstrate this, we're going to summarize the number of completed projects each client has. I'm adding a new field called completed projects. We're going to roll up from the projects table. And we're going to roll up the project status column. Next, right underneath where you selected the column, there's going to be a toggle to turn on conditional rollups. Once you set up the conditional rollup, you have to specify the condition. In our case, we only want to roll up projects that have been completed. So my condition is going to be the project status is completed. Next, I'm going to count the projects that have been completed. Once again, we'll use the COUNTA formula. Now you can see that the projects have been completed, and for Cherry's Cafe, we've got 3 projects that have been completed. This number also matches the number of projects that have been completed on the projects table. If I were to change one of the completed projects to in progress, you'll see that number reflected as well. After I've changed one of our projects from completed to in progress, our summary for number of completed projects has went down from 3 to 2. Whenever you're building summaries or reporting, it's always nice to check back and reference your raw data to just make sure you're comparing them consistently as you build. Your roll-up summaries don't always need to be summing a particular number together or doing a conditional roll-up. You can also have summaries for the day-to-day operations of the team. For example, in a project management context, if I am the project manager, I might need to see everyone or every assignee that's part of this project. That's a very helpful summary to have, and you can set that up using roll-up fields as well. For this example, it makes more sense to be in the Projects tab. I'm creating a new view called Project Reporting. Once again, I'm starting with all of my fields hidden. The one field I do want to see are my tasks. You can see that some projects have lots of different tasks, and they could be assigned to different people. By having a roll-up field of all assignees on the project, I can very quickly glance and see who I need to talk to if I want to ask for a status update on a given project. I'm creating a field called All Assignees. It's going to be a roll-up field that rolls up from the tasks table. The field I'm going to roll up is the assignees field. Next, I'm going to add in the ARRAYUNIQUE formula. The reason why I'm using the ARRAYUNIQUE formula is because I don't want to see the same person's name 3 times if they're assigned to 3 different tasks. I only need to see a record of every single individual. After I set up this field, you can see all of the different assignees on a given project. For example, for Cherry's Coffee Shop, the SEO project has only 1 assignee. When I look into my tasks table, I'm going to verify if that data is correct. When I look at the SEO project for Cherry's Coffee Shop, I can see that the assignee is Cherry for all 3 tasks. If I change one of the tasks to Adam, then the project will have both Cherry's name and Adam's name listed in the assignees column. These simple summaries are very quick to build and can really speed up your workflow when you're managing projects. This gets a little bit complicated, so we saved the best for last. When we're thinking about costing, it's made up of 2 things. In a project management example, it's made up of the hourly rate for a given employee and also how many hours they worked. In our case, we have some example time logs added in this space already. Since we have the duration, we know how much time the team spent working on a given task. To start these calculations, I'm adding a new view called Task Costing inside of the Tasks table. Right now, I know I've spent a certain amount of time, and I also know who has been working on that task. What I'm missing right now is the hourly rate for the employees. So in the internal teams table, I'll add in everybody's hourly rate. The hourly rate is going to be a currency field. I've given some example rates for all 3 of the employees that work at this company. Back in the tasks table, I can go in and grab their hourly rate. I'm rolling up from the assignees table and grabbing the hourly rate. Since each person only has 1 rate, we can use either the minimum, maximum, or average. They'll get you the same outcome. Now that we have our rate, we can multiply it by the number of hours to get the cost for that specific task. I'm adding a new field called Task Cost. This is going to be a formula field. The formula field is going to be time spent times the hourly rate. The task cost went really high because the duration column that we were summing together is based on seconds. So what we have to do is first divide by 60 minutes, then divide by 60 seconds, and then you'll end up getting the right number for the cost of the task. After you've got the task cost, you can roll up all the task costs onto the project level so you can see how much that project is going to cost. Back on our projects table, we'll add a new field called project cost. I sound like a broken record, but this is once again a roll-up field. We're rolling up from the tasks table. The field we're going to roll up is task cost. We'll sum together all the costs for the different tasks. And voila, you get your project cost. There are two considerations when you build a costing structure like this. The first one is going to be, is your team's cost always going to stay the same? If it's not going to stay the same, you're going to want to make sure you capture the live cost instead of the historical cost. There are a couple of considerations when you're setting up project costing. If you have lots of contractors or vendors on your team, you might not want all of your staff members to know how much everyone is getting paid. Therefore, it could be good to break out your cost formulas and summaries in a separate base entirely. The second consideration is whether the hourly rates or any kind of costing will change in the future. If the costing does change, you may want to set up a roll-up field for whatever the current cost is, and a static field for whatever the cost was at the point in time where that person provided you the service. There are different mechanisms for setting up costing structures, so you'll want to make sure you think through which method you need first.